Q&A. I've got the amazing Caitlin with us tonight, and we've got our other property coach, Ryan. I don't know, for some reason, Caitlin, you're really big on my screen, and Ryan and I are small on the side here. So maybe Kieran can do a little bit of, reworking of the stuff there. What's that movie that Minority Report that Tom Cruise when he was doing stuff around the screen? Yeah. Ryan, now I believe that's not too bad. Kieran, you can go out one little step as well. Kieran, you just keep configuring our screens. We'll keep talking. No, not that one either.
Yes.
That'll do, mate. That'll do. Ryan, this is your first time on the live, isn't it, mate?
This is my first time in an Axon shirt. Absolutely. Yep. I've watched many as a client with a glass of red.
Yes.
But this is my first one in a shirt with no glass of red.
I was going to say, you've been wearing an Axon shirt now for about 6 weeks. I've seen you in an Axon shirt a lot.
Yeah,
mate, it's good to see you actually here online. Caitlin, I think you and James joined us when you were clients back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I think didn't we do the little switcheroo? You guys were sitting there as clients, and then you jumped off the screen and you popped back on again with your Axon shirts on.
I was watching that one. Yep.
Do you remember that?
So we did the first live when we lived in Brisbane when James first discharged, and then I think we came on as like a few months later or years later now, with both of us working and being like, you guys, you'd remember them from being clients on here, and now look.
That's right.
She brought us on,
Angie's dialing in. Mickey Gallina's in the house. Good to see you, Mick. Another Mickey Gunston, commonly known as Gunny. James Wilkinson's in the house. That's your other half, by the way. And then Fran's listening in. Fran, you're on bloody holidays. What are you doing, mate? Stop.
Get off.
It was going to be one of our points. So FYI, Fran is away at the moment in Perth. So thank you so much for dialing in. That used to be Fran and Luke from the Gold Coast. Now it can be Fran from Perth. So there we go. I guess it's one of those things, Caitlin, when we've got yourself, Angie, Fran, and also Amana in the build support team. When one of you goes away, how much difference does it make as far as work output goes?
Absolutely none at all. Like, we have a pretty thorough handover, but as you know, we've been pushing a lot for the last few months, is that we do have like the most holistic approach to build support, where we've got everybody over everybody's build. Yes, you do have one point of contact, but we are all over it. We all have our build support review. We're just a joint collaboration of like one mind with like little hands out.
Obviously I've created that depth and breadth in the capability anyway. Absolutely led amazingly and headed up by Ange. But we've got one of our VVVIP clients here in the Gold Coast that's coming towards the end of their build. I'm like, hey, we need to come in, get in, let's go through some of the key items that we're going to go through. The only time they can make it is on Monday. Franny doesn't get back to Wednesday. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. We've got 3 other build support people that'll be here to welcome them. So I know that you'll take, those clients go, through whatever they need, even though you specifically haven't been managing their build. A build is a build is a build. And there's no crazy things that they're particularly doing. Everyone's doing the same thing. So that's going to work out well. Who else we tell? I saw the chat just went kaboom.
Yeah.
Mikey Christophus, you bloody legend. I remember when you used to have your Navy diver picture on your program there, and no one knew what you actually looked like.
I remember that too.
Let's get that guy. I think, Caitlin, you're at home going, who's this fucking Navy diver guy? Get him on the screen. 100%. But you know what, Mikey? The picture of one of your models is all well and good, but you, from your head and your heart and your soul, you are so much more of a beautiful person than what that fictitious model will be by miles, mate. So thanks for coming to see us a few times up here on the Gold Coast. Amana's definitely listening. Franny, yes. Well, mate. Righto, I've seen you with your clothes off, and I don't think that the internet would be broken if we had that happen. Hey, Ryan, I really want to, even though we've done a podcast with you, so if you haven't had a chance to listen to that podcast, team, maybe Kieran on the back channel, if you can maybe chuck the quick little link from Ryan's podcast in there. You've got a really fascinating story, mate. Give us the sort of 3 or 4 minute version, because granted, there are different people that listen to this forum than what they do for podcasts or whatever else. So I just want to make sure those listening live tonight, and then those that have got kids and whatever else in the background that'll watch it over the next couple of days, they don't miss out on knowing who the absolute weapon is that's sitting in front of us right now.
All right, 5 minute elevator pitch. So Was ex-RAF in Tello. Did my time in the Air Force down in Newcastle. But previous to that, so I joined later on in life. I joined when I was 34. But previous to that, I was a town planner for the better part of a decade. So a lot of time spent in the building and development industry, particularly around Newcastle, but working both in the local government and private sector as well. So when we look at and we talk about the 7 ingredients of a property market, and we talk about master plan communities and diminishing land, infrastructure planning, all that stuff is where the town planners come in and do their thing. So I spent a significant part of my professional career doing that. Took a wild career change at 34 and just decided to jump in to the Air Force and be an intelligence officer. It was a really fulfilling part of my professional career, but ultimately didn't spend too long in the Air Force. And decided to jump back out, and that's how I ended up here.
Mate, one of the bits I loved about your podcast was you going through basic training with the 18, 19-year-olds as a 34-year-old. So make sure I can see Casey's just put that in the chat there, team. Go and have a look at that and listen to Ryan's story going through training.
I think I was the oldest there until the later on in the course when you get the senior NCOs and the WAFs show up that are commissioning. So I was the oldest until about a 45-year-old WAF showed up. So yeah, it was an interesting one.
Those ex-bloody senior NCOs who want to change over to the dark side, eh? Never met a good one yet, let me tell you. Mate, so then a couple of really, so you graduated from the RAF, went back to RAF base Williamtown in Newcastle. So that was in handy, joining from Newcastle, going back to Newcastle. A couple of really important additions started to quickly come into your life. Tell us about those.
Yeah, well, while I was at basic training or initial employment training, Amanda, my wife, fell pregnant. So pretty much as I finished the training cycle and came back to actually do intelligence things, our first child was born. So that was a whirlwind. So adapting to military life plus fatherhood was pretty full on.
Yeah.
And then at that same point, we thought, why not try and start building our property portfolio, because we didn't have enough to do. So we threw that on top as well.
And was it? I believe it was you that discovered Axon in the first instance, and you had to go home and tell Amanda that you've met some crazy guys online and you want to have a chat to them. And what was her initial reaction?
Yeah, I think, as I said in the podcast, she just shrugged it off and said, "No, these are scammers. We're not going to look on that." And I found you guys. I actually found you guys as a civilian. I didn't find you when I was in uniform.
Right.
So I just saw the commando stuff and went, "Yeah, this sounds pretty cool."
Oh, that's
Check
nice.
It out. And yeah, Amanda's like, "Nah, we're not touching that."
Sounds very familiar, doesn't it, Caitlin?
Oh, it sure does.
The same thing. Oh, it's weird when you guys are sitting here and like, yeah. One day I'll prove to you that the Axon reason for being is not a scam. All right, I'm working on it.
Well,
I think you've already taught it.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here if it was, mate.
Proofs in the pudding. Tell us, Ryan, just quickly. You had the opportunity of buying and building your own home down in Newcastle. So we built the house for you from afar. So you guys were like driving past it only a few times. I think was it when Mo wouldn't go to sleep, you had to chuck her in the back of the car and go for a drive out there. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we were. I'd say completely hands off. There was a couple of trips out there, but as you'd expect, coming out of training, I was a brand new Intello, so I was away a lot. Amanda was on maternity leave, so she was bunkered down with Mo. So it was a completely hands-off experience, even though our build was about 10-15 minute trip down the road.
Yeah,
and it's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, perfect. What was it like when you actually got the keys handed over and you walked into your own home there for the first time, knowing that the support of all the build support team of those that have come before you, even Caitlin, made that happen for you and just was so nice and easy? It
was mixed for me, because it was an absolute phenomenal feeling to get the keys and move in. One, you guys couldn't come down because of COVID, so we missed out on that.
Yes.
But two, as we picked up the keys, I was on 72 hours notice to move, and I was gone in 3 days, I think, after moving in. So I moved in. We still had boxes everywhere, and I was away for about 10 weeks after that. So it was a bit of a delayed experience for me, but I did enjoy it for, I think, a night or two before I took off again. But it was unreal. Yeah, it was a really fulfilling moment to stand there with keys and a block of land and a brand new house and go, we're doing it. And Axon have fulfilled what was on the carton.
Yeah, it's great. And then I suppose just fast forward we were continuing the chat on the back channel. Like as your coach, you were still purely a client at this stage. Things were starting to move for Amana. It was maybe getting a bit itchy feet, thinking she wanted to get out of the military soon.
Yeah.
You were like going, look, I don't think this is going to last forever anyway. So I think we got up to like version 11 or 12 of your plan. We went from like version 4 to version 12 in about 6 weeks. I felt that was like the frequency that we're jumping on there. Just, sync matrix this, course of action that, like doing the deeper level planning. And it got to a point whereby, as soon as I found out that Amana was thinking about getting out of the military, you guys were perhaps moving to the Gold Coast, I absolutely stepped out of my lane and I did the wrong thing from Tamara's perspective. And I pretty much offered her a job.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because when we went through that process and Amana was at that 10, 11 year point of her military career and was thinking about getting out, she did say, Axon seems like a really cool place. I'm going to go work there one day.
Yeah, great.
Not having the conversations with you or anything. And then,
I didn't know that. And then I don't know, I can just, when you live your life on a screen like I do, I feel like I'm doing the whole bloody video referee thing when I something like that. You become, you just become acute as picking up people's body language and stuff. So I just got a bit of a feeling. I'm like, this girl's super smart. She's a great communicator. Like she's always smiley and happy and bubbly. And I'm like, fuck, if she's moving to the Gold Coast and she's a veteran, do you want a job?
Yeah.
Something similar anyway. And I love it, Amana, you're putting in the thing there. You still pinch yourself. So that's really grateful that Ryan found Axon. And, you guys were able to sell your property down in Newcastle, walked away with the better part of 300 grand profit, now living in your own home up here on the Goldie. And you're just about to now swing into gear again. Because I got dragged by the collar the other day, Caitlin. You probably saw it. They're like, "Hey, coach, can we put our client hats back on? And can you tell us what we should do now?" We've put a plan in place where you guys are going to build your first investment property again soon. So that's super exciting, mate. I'm really, really happy to have you here.
Yeah, it's been a wild and phenomenal ride, absolutely. And
so good.
Cannot wait to pass all that stuff on to the rest of the defense community. That's essentially why I'm sitting in the seat. Yeah.
Mate, you've already been doing that. Between Luke and myself, just give us a bit of a dead reckoning. In the last 6 weeks, how many calls, from connection calls to follow-up coachings to delivery, coaching number ones, coaching numbers 2, 3, 4, 5s, success packages, end of build coaching sessions, random catch-ups. How many calls you reckon you've been on in the last 6 weeks?
Shit. I'd be doing a 1 or 2 hour coaching call every night, Monday to Thursday, I'd say.
Yep.
So times that by 6, carry the 2, whatever you need to do for the maths. And then connection calls.
Cost me already.
Yeah. And connection calls, honestly, it'd be 2 or 3 a day, nearly.
Yeah.
So lots of touch points for me and learning opportunities and getting to meet the defense community through this medium. It's been a wild ride.
And of course, Caitlin, you have the very special opportunity of seeing James go through exactly that as well as a property specialist. And Ryan, you've been saying this now since I think probably the 3rd call we had. You said this, and every single call since then, you're like, well, that was different.
Yeah.
Every call is so crazy unique, and everyone's got their own very special circumstances. It's hard to keep up sometimes. But it's very thrilling at the same time. Can I use those terms to describe how I think you're feeling?
Yeah, I agree. And something, going back to Intello training, we talk about checking your biases and checking your assumptions. And I fell in at the start of the Axon coaching of coming into some calls with some bias and assumptions. And as soon as I did that, we went down different paths. And I was like, wow, this is not where I thought we would be going.
So good.
But that's the part that I love. This is, getting to understand and know people and how we can problem solve their situations to achieve their goals. Yeah.
Caitlin, I promise I'm going to talk to you in a second, buddy. You're sitting there and I know you're but I want to sort of introduce Ryan properly.
I'm the big one on the screen. I'm good.
I know, fine a little bit, and you look amazing too, by the way. Ryan, it sort of peaked for you and I, whereby we did a session yesterday afternoon, whereby young Army officer up in Darwin, very switched on, doing lots of research, come up with amazing upbringing from a money mindset and money habits perspective. He said during the call that he perhaps have his parents give him a small amount of cash, less than 50 grand per se, if I can use that term, a small amount of cash, as a wonderful gift, by the way. And then he's like, hey, by the way, if mum's going to have a bit of skin in the game here, actually I insisted that she come and join us on the call yesterday. And that was an interesting experience because she had never watched a video, hadn't gone to our Facebook page, didn't know who we are, what we were, and she was being mum on the call. She was being a parent, being very protective, asking some very direct and very hard-hitting questions, as opposed to, oh, mate, the client, he had watched all the videos, been following us for a year, had the connection call, spent 2 hours with us on a coaching, and then he brings mum into the fold. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And I know one that you were, we did a quick little hot wash after the call, as we always do, especially in this sort of formative stages of your training. And yeah, you're like, I'm so glad. What did you say after that call?
Yeah, I was just appreciative to be able to, I guess, co-pilot and backseat that one. Again, it's another type of call that I hadn't been on, hadn't experienced.
Yeah.
I appreciated the straight shooting questions that were put forward, because that's exactly what we're here for and here to answer and help them, move through what they need to.
You actually, and you too, Caitlin, but because this is the very two unique parts of our business, as you know. We've got 4 married couples in the business now. Ryan and Amana is the 4th one. And Caitlin, I'll come to you in a second because you and James have been working together for now. How long? Have you been here? Almost a year?
Yeah, it's coming up to a year in May.
Yeah, right. So it's soon, very soon. So I'm seeking your feedback on what it's been like working with your other half with 3 kids. You're both in very demanding roles that take a lot of your soul to make sure you're providing those amazing services. As Sammy Wynn's saying, CJ, hello, brother. Brown, so build support was amazing. If we hadn't lived nearby, we would have even forgotten we were building a house, and seamless and hassle free. That's what's written on the box. You guys keep living your life. We'll build a house for you. So that's amazing, mate. But Caitlin, I'd really love to know what it's like to be working with your husband and seeing him sort of flourish there. And the other bit is that the majority of people that are in a client-facing role have all been clients. Mm-hmm. I literally sat down today and had breakfast with one of my very, very good mates that runs a very successful boating company. He's a civilian, doesn't have a military background. He's like, how can you recruit so well? I just see the new people come into your firm and they just seem to fit in and gel and mesh so quickly. I'm like, 2 things. They were clients beforehand, so they know what it's like to be on this end of the screen. And the other thing is, I'm like, we've got a big sign up in our room that's like the vision or the purpose of the business. Everyone's aligned to that to the absolute nth degree. And he's like, right, I need to sort of do it a different way. So, Caitlin, you're a perfect example of that. You're now building the second house, really. Built your investment property. Now you guys are about to move into your own sort of dream home. How's all that been working, mate? And you've been here for almost a year. And tell us what your last 12 months has been like.
My last 12 months has been one of the most fulfilling 12 months that I've had, other than the 12 months where I've, looked after babies alone and, husband's been on deployment or something like that. Yeah. But it's just been so much fun. And I think the main part about it for me, there's 2 parts. Sorry, I will say that. I've just come to my head. But my first part is that, James and I do have 3 kids. It is very demanding, our home life. And we don't have time to be just Caitlin and James at home. We're always mum and dad. And sometimes it does get so draining. So at work, I can just be Caitlin and James can just be James. And I can just be my weird self and not have to worry about kids or cleaning something up. And the same thing with James. He's like, I'm just going to be me and I'm going to be weird. I'm going to be laughing, which is awesome. And, the second part about it, working with a husband as well, is that even though James and I were clients, and I think that you fit all of our calls in to the matter of a few weeks before James went overseas, which was amazing. And it was so jam-packed with information and speaking to you, that even though when James joined Axon and I was, not a part of Axon, but still a client, there would be nights where he would be working nonstop. And I was like, oh my God, I don't see him. He's working all the time. I'm dealing with the kids myself.
Fuck these Axon guys.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, fuck him. But no, now that I'm working with Axon, and even though I had been through that process, now that I'm on the other side, it's like I understand everything even clearer. And I'm so happy for it. And, it's even that you guys bring up the calls, that how different every single one could be. I just recently had a call where a client has been, still dealing with a lot of delays. And I'm setting myself up going, this is going to be bad.
You're going to hate me.
They're going to hate me.
Yeah.
And guess what? They were so high on life and so high on the build. And it was just like, you are sensational. Like I have sensational clients. I will say that myself, but like they've all been just so lovely. And
I named them. That was at Steve and Jen.
Yes, correct.
Absolute legends. Second property with us. Been like they're probably Axon's first 50 clients, maybe 30, 40, 50 clients. And, you know, so they've been around our community for a long time. And you're absolutely right. Their patience and their understanding and their awareness and focus on the bigger picture, not just a couple of extra months in the build, is amazing. Like you come and saw me straight afterwards. You're like, oh my God, I just spoke to Steve and Jen. Like, this is what I saw you do anyway.
I did.
And by the way, ladies and gents, Caitlin saying I can come to the office and be weird. Ryan, you didn't know Caitlin very well beforehand. Give me a sense of what your observation of Caitlin's weirdness is.
Well, I was going to say it's definitely weird.
Next level.
What did I do today?
I've worked in a lot of office environments, both civilian and military, and the office environment that I work in at the moment is like nothing else.
You're welcome. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Caitlin had an absolute cracker today. I think she fell over standing up. It was a good one.
Yeah,
we've got it on camera too, so hopefully
in slow motion.
That was just before we did the little reel about us coming on tonight. I'm like, this bloody crazy horse, was it? Something like that.
Yeah, you call me a horse, straight out the horse's mouth. I'm like, I don't look like a horse.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Caitlin. Like, we've really revamped the interaction that the build support team has now. You guys, before the coaches used to do the fixing calls. The coaches used to do the end of build coachings, et cetera. But now I'm like, hey, first and foremost, from a volume perspective, that doesn't make sense, you know. But even though the coach, you know, it's good for us to check in and make sure that everything's going well. But you guys have now got your fixing calls. You've got your, you know, let's start to get ready for tenant calls. Let's do the end of build hot wash, and then, you know, for the back people that come back around again. What do you like most about? Sorry, and then you do the build support introduction. So, you know, so you got 4 really, really key calls there. And I guess you've done a number of builds now that from the start to the finish. How many touch points in total would you guess that you have with a client from start to go? So start to finish.
Holy dooly.
Like 150? It would be like a rough guess.
It would have to be. It would definitely have to be over that. Like there's been times where I have, you know, had certain clients where I call them 3, 4, 5 times a day, and I'm like, I'm so sorry to be calling you again, and they're like, no, I love it. Like my house is about to be finished, and I'm like, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna talk to you about some stuff, and they're like, they love it. And I think like with you know. The touch points that we have is that the build support team have definitely, you know, we've got the message that we need to say. We have the information we need to say. Amana and Fran may say it different to me, but the information comes across the 100% the same. And that's why we're so holistic. I mean, Fran would definitely say it different from us with her beautiful accent, but you know, that's it. And the fixing call for me is by far my favorite. I mean, I love meeting clients the first time on the build support introduction.
Yeah.
The fixing call, seeing their faces light up when it's like, we are over halfway. Like we're getting into the busy end. Yes. We're about to get ready for handover and PC. And they're just, their face is.
Yeah. Because fixing's like the kitchen's like the cabinetry's in. The tiling's done, the waterproofing sorted, some of the flooring might be getting laid soon, the painting's starting, you know, going to be occurring. You know, some of the driveway and landscaping is really starting to take shape. So some of those more impactful cosmetic items of the house are really starting to come to shape. What's probably the challenging? It's a point that you and I are going to talk about tonight. Just from let's bring like stories from the trenches into the fold. That's what Ryan, you hear me when I'm talking about. Those people that have the best Axon experience, you know, people that we see here every couple of weeks, you know, they engage, they follow us, they, you know, and I'm look, I don't care whether you like or share or do anything. It's all about consume the information we provide, because we're literally bringing you stories from the trenches right now. So that's really cool. What's probably the most challenging thing that you got going on at the moment in the build support area?
My most challenging thing at the moment, I guess, for me would be the rental price point. That is something that a lot of clients, whilst, you know, they do, for me, just want to get the best outcome possible, and I want to get the best outcome possible for them too. But the main thing that I like to put across to my clients is that education first. You've been educated through your coaching calls and with the property specialist. Let's put that education to work. We educate you for a reason. So when it gets to this point, we don't have to go, oh, okay, like we need the best, we need the highest or anything. It's about putting the education, what works first. That for me is just something that we're going back, we're fixing up, we're, you know, re-educating, bringing those videos back to say, hey, listen, remember this snippet. And clients have done that lately. They've been like, oh, I forgot about this. You're completely right. And then it's paid off. They've put that education to work.
So what we're talking about here, team, so that's a great concept of what we're talking about. But specifically, when you have your property come to market, and let's just say, so first and foremost, it's like, Caitlin, you see all the property packs. The people that have finished building their houses right now, let's just use the area north of the Brisbane that we were talking about earlier. When the clients took those properties off the market for expression of interest, they were looking to get about $500 a week rent. That was the going rate at EOI. And yeah, they're happy with that because they're buying a $540,000 property. They're going to get $500 a week rent. That's a fucking awesome rental yield. Technical term for good.
Yep.
Now, fast forward, their houses are worth like $700,000, but because the rental's gone up a fair bit, you know, and there's now 620, 630, 640, 650 sort of thing, depending on size of the house, type of house, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Now, the natural aversion that you're now selling as fee is like, oh, sweet, I'm going to try and get bloody $640 a week rent for my property. But if there's two other properties in the same vicinity at $640 a week rent, you're going head to head for no reason. And with interest rates that have gone up so much, you might be paying $2,200 a month on your interest right now. So we had one client who has built their second house with us that knows what to do. She came in and went, bang, I'm going to put my house for $630 a week rent, got a tenant in 3 days, didn't she?
Yes, that is correct.
She didn't go 640. She didn't go 650. She doesn't care about $20 a week. She cares about getting someone in there, being an amazing landlord, and then you can put the rent up over the next, you know, whatever lease period is going to be applicable for you. So I guess it's, it's one of those things that we really want to make sure that we are, before the clients are going to have that first conversation with the property manager, we get them to rewatch what the risk management plan says and have their axons or their mindset working properly, whereby, I did the right one, whereby they're not trying to get top dollar rent, because you think about it from a tenant's perspective. If they're pretty much going to get the same house, even if they're paying $5 a week less in rent, which house do you reckon the tenant's going to go for? It's a no-brainer. So I'm really glad that you're having those conversations with the clients.
And that's it. And you know what? When James and I rented, you know, first after handover for our investment property, it was a completely different market back then. And, you know, we got offered with a 2-year lease at, you know, $420. And we went, oh, banger. Like, we've got someone for 2 years. Fast forward 2 years at $420. No, that was not great for us. No. But guess what? That's what we needed at the time. That was what was going to secure us for 2 years. And the market is just constantly changing. And, you know, fast forward 2 years, here we are thinking we're about to lose our tenants because we needed to up our rent. And nope, they understood. And they're staying there. And, you know, it's been 3 years now, which is awesome. Oh, my God, how weird. 3 years.
There's a couple little things. Did you know that Deb got a valuation on another property exactly the same as yours in the same street up the hill a little bit because it was bought on the second stage. You bought yours for $474. Theirs is valued at $700. So guess what? How much yours is worth? $700.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Right? So no, it's really important that so you can even do a lower rent for 6 months, and then the rent gets bumped. So it's almost like you can do a rent increase within that 12 month period. So please, ladies and gents, if you're coming towards the end of your build, and Scotty Grenville, you're absolutely saying it right there, mate. It takes 1 month of non-rental to lose all of it. You know, Dave said the same thing. Don't worry about chasing top dollar rent. It only takes 1 week of an empty property to lose that $10 a week you might be chasing. So yeah, it's been interesting to see other people that have got the right mindset, have their house finished being built, and bang, they've got a tenant in a number of days. because they weren't chasing top dollar rent. You guys see that little bit of feedback coming through as well?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Has anyone got a fan on?
No. Bit weird.
Weird.
Anyway, I'll be interested to see whether we're just getting a little bit of internal feedback here, team. CJ or Scotty or James or whatever. Can you guys let us know if it's coming through? If you guys are still hearing us nice and clear. Actually, whilst we're here, I want to get a little bit of crowd interaction if I can.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's frustrating the property specialist and the coaching at the moment is clients think need to be included. Right? Just make sure it's not me. Hang on a sec. I'd love to know in the chat box, please. Give me your top 2 items that you think an individual property must have, or what characteristics are going to provide the most amount of influence in getting a tenant soon and or capital growth. I'd love to know what those answers are going to be down there. Please try and contribute as much as you can, team, because I'm going to absolutely make sure we nail this one for you guys going forward. In the meantime, while you guys are doing that though, KC, I'm just going to get you to share my screen in a second, mate. I want to talk about cash flow, team. This is not a finance masterclass. This is all about making sure that people have the right amount of there you go, Ryan, it's coming from your end. That's a bit weird. The right amount of mindset again. Like I call this business Axon for a reason. You need to make sure that you've got the right mindset about everything, not just 80% of it, and then I'll do the other 20% my way. It doesn't work like that. You're gonna create a silly element of churn and unhappiness in your overall journey if you're trying to inject what you think needs to be in the house that's going to give the most amount of capital growth. I can see you coming to them, a few of them coming through now. But in the meantime, the first thing that springs to mind is all about, that's not the one. Fuck, I can't see that. Stand by. I'll go and share my screen again. Share screen. Window, that one there, share. Can you just see if that's negative and positive cash flow and gearing screen's going to come up, please, KC? KC, can you see that on your end? Can you maybe see if you can slide that across, bud? Window, that one, share. Please update your system permissions. Oh, get fucked. All right, disregard. It's not allowing me to do it. So here's the thing. Going back a year ago when interest rates were super low, people were having positively geared properties from the get-go. That is, the rent was taking care of the mortgage and all of the costs before you even got your tax return back. That's a positively geared property, right? Now, of course, interest rates have come back to where they were 10 years ago when I first joined the industry, whereby your property is absolutely negatively geared. So therefore, the rent does not take care of the mortgage and all the costs to go with it. So you're really reliant on getting your tax return back. And then even when you get your tax return back, if you're still slightly negative cash flow, who fucking cares? Even if it costs you $100 a week after you get your tax return back, you've bought a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 asset to sit in the market. $100 a week is $400 a month. If you can't or not willing to contribute to that, to have the property held in the market over a longer period of time, you've really got your mindset on backwards almost. So it's really important that you're also able to move with the times from a gearing and cash flow perspective. I heard one of the property specialists say to me today, they got off a client call with someone last night. They're like, this is what we want now in our property, and some, quite frankly, silly requirements for what they think a property is going to have going up in value, and we want the property to be positively geared. I'm like, fucking hell, bro. Have you seen? This is what I thought to myself anyway. Have they seen the financial landscape right now, whereby getting a positively geared property is virtually impossible because the interest rates just simply don't allow for it, right? So I was going to share my screen over here. If your property is negatively geared to the tune of like $1,200 a month, but then you get $1,000 a month back in your tax return, you still, what's that? $200 a month underneath what that's going to be, $50 a week. That's effectively being able to buy a property with your lunch money, as it's commonly known. So it's really important that one has a good understanding of cash flow to make sure that you're not putting unrealistic expectations on yourself when you're trying to choose a property. You're like, oh, I don't want to buy that property because it's not positively geared. Well, guess what? You're not buying a fucking property anytime soon, anywhere, unless you go into some, crazy ass bloody scheme whereby you've got higher rental yields, which are probably not going to be in very high growth areas. All right. So let me go back to these ones. Open plan, love it, Sammy Wynn. Location and demographics. Well done, Liam. I haven't even spoken to you before, mate, but thanks for contributing. Interest rates are out of control. Interesting that no one else. So looking around some of the rentals, disregard, takes 1 month. All right, so cool. Not many people have put their answers in there, but for instance, this is almost said some of the shit then, but this is some of the items we're getting from our clients. Hi, Mum. Some of our clients, you've got me on a fucking rant, right? These are some of the things we're getting from our clients about what they think is going to be a key indicator about whether you're going to find tenants or not. Whether there is gas bottles down the side of the house or there's gas mains. What? Is that not on the fucking 7 ingredients to a healthy property market? Like tenants, I've lived in a house where there's gas bottles down the side. You use one gas bottle. When that gas bottle gets empty, you flick it across to the other one. You ring up old mate for the gas supplier. He comes out and replenishes it, and you never run out of gas. Tenants don't give a fuck if there's gas bottles down the side of the house. Nor do they care whether the alfresco is facing north, south, east, west, or anywhere in fucking between. It's so I guess what we're seeing here is there's a little bit of crossover between, oh, that's what I'd like in my house if I was living in it. I'm like, well, guess what, champ? Surprise, surprise. You're not living in it. And if the only properties that went up in value or the only properties that got tenanted had no gas bottles down the side and only had an alfresco that was facing north, imagine all the properties that were sitting there with no one in them. It's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. So I guess it's we're just finding it a little bit tricky at the moment with only a couple of clients that think they know better about what a property should or shouldn't have. Fuck me. Now we're going down the bloody path of some clients are like, oh, that probably doesn't have a gas cooktop on it. I'm like, so? They're like, oh, I want gas in my house. I want a gas cooktop in my house. I'm like, you're not fucking living in it, mate. In fact, now that I've lived in a house that doesn't have a gas cooktop, because when you have spillage when you're cooking shit, right, Caitlin, you're an amazing cook. You're an amazing cook.
Yeah.
You don't spill too much when you're cooking. I've seen it myself, right? But when you spill things in a gas cooktop, you've got to dismantle the whole fucking cooker, then give it a wipe, and then put it back together. And if you're not absolutely perfect putting the fucking gas thing back on, it won't light or the flame will be fucked up and you'll be wondering what you've done, and then you're fucking spending 10 minutes doing that. What do you do when you've got like an induction cooktop or a really high quality electric one?
Yeah.
And you're fucking done.
I swear, I'm the exact same. And I have lived in a house my whole life where I had gas. And then, James and I posted for the first time together and it was electric. And I was like, what is this? And then I went back to gas and I was like, this is shit. Give me electric. I need electric. And then now we're building, our, forever dream home, forever home. Forever for now is what I call it. Forever for now. And it's electric all the way.
I'm building a forever dream home. I'm not fucking ever leaving this one, by the way. Right? And
you're a little bit older than me, Robbie. That's why.
Yeah. We joke, don't we? You're still in your 20s. I've got a 5 in front of me now, so you are definitely young enough or old enough to be my daughter, depending on how you look at it.
That's why I call you dad.
It just fucking drives me up the wall that people are saying no to a property we have found them that is perfect for price point, perfect for location, perfect for cash flow, perfect for demographics and all the other stuff that comes with it. I don't want that because it doesn't got a gas cooktop. I'm like, you fucking serious? Anyway, Ryan, you're it's what Scotty Grenville said, trust the process, it works. Oh, look at that. Ryan's now off mute. Yeah, fucking hell, there we go. Ryan, try and speak over that, mate. What are your thoughts when people get confused about focusing on capital growth versus focusing on important cosmetic things when you're living in it, but completely irrelevant things when the tenants are living in it?
Yeah, and it's the point which Amana raised as well of taking the emotion out of an investment property, and it's the saying I use is that people can't see the forest through the trees. So the forest is our capital growth. Whether we've got gas, electricity, you're not living in it, it doesn't really matter. And also in terms of your positive cash flow, you don't want to jeopardize holding a property in the market for short-term positive cash flow. And these are the types of decisions that may factor that in. Yep.
Yeah. One of the other things that James in the office was giving me a brief on today is like, I've got these clients that let's talk another thing about cosmetics and the trend going right now. So sure, Caitlin, if you're a family like you want a bit of a backyard like you've got now. It's not big, but it's big enough for the kids to go out there and throw a ball around and play with the dogs or whatever. What's it, probably 2.5 meters off the back wall by 12.5 wide. So you got 25 square meters of backyard. It's enough for that. But for a professional couple or a doctor or a couple of students that are living in your house, depending on where your house is, they don't want to fucking be out the back mowing someone's lawn. They want zero backyard. They want super low maintenance. So I guess that's another thing that's sort of creeping in. They're like, oh, well, we've got a family, so we definitely want a house with a backyard in it. And certainly a lot of the houses do come with a backyard. But if you're working on a really tight budget, to buy in the right location, you might have to transition into building a terrace home, for instance, where there's got a very minimal backyard with almost no maintenance. So people are almost like, I don't want to buy in that location because that property at my price point hasn't got a backyard. I'll go to a somewhat inferior location and have a bigger backyard just because that's what I think the tenants want. So it's almost like you're shutting out, sure, you're going to get the mums and dads that come in, but what about the people like me and Tamara that don't want a backyard? I'm a fucking good tenant. I'm happy to pay your rent and take care of your property. So it's almost like as a landlord, you're never going to ace the market when building the perfect house for the perfect tenant. Because everyone's so fucking different. If everyone's so different on our coaching calls, Ryan, and your calls, Amana, how are they all going to be the same when they want to have the same house to live in? It doesn't work like that.
It all goes back to, I feel like, my coaching call when James and you messaged us one day and said, hey guys, I've got a house for you. You want to do a call? And I was like, yes, this is it. We've got a house. And we got on that call and you went, how do you like it? And I'm like, I don't like the colors.
You didn't like it? No.
I don't like the colors.
No.
And you went, moving on. Next fucking slide. And I went, I'm paying all this money. I don't like these colors. And guess what? My tenant, who's been in the house 3 years, has no problem with it.
Loves it. Correct. That's it. And you've made $225,000.
And you know what? My yard as well, for that fact, in that property, it's not small. I won't say that. Like, it's pretty good size yard. Not, I think, for a family and for dogs. And my tenant just said, I'd like to get a dog. We're thinking about this, and I'm like, hey, a dog is gonna go stir crazy, but you do what you want. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. But they're like, you're right. Yeah, that's it. You're right. And I'm like. Yeah.
Actually, KC, can you bring up Amana's comment there, please? I remember in our coaching journey, the first time around, Robbie, you told us to remove the emotion of our decision-making in regards to investing in property. Those civilians watching right now, that's what IRT stands for. These issues sound like emotional reactions that can get in the way of making a decision in the name of wealth creation. It's 100% right. And Mickey Gunston's very true. Jordan Brazier, hey Jordan, good to see you here, mate. Hope you and Mel are doing well. Keep the emotion out of it. Let Axon take care of the rest. So, it's been interesting to observe as a coach when a client who comes out of the coaching lane is like, yep, we get it, no worries, fucking, happy days. And then for some reason they're dragging themselves into cosmetic shit that matters for zero when it comes to building an investment or building a property portfolio and having an investment. So, yeah, it's just been an interesting little dynamic. Go for it, Caitlin, please.
Sorry, I'm just seeing Scott's comment there. Trust the process, it works. And I think that, it can't come from somebody that's more of an Axon veteran than anybody. If it's Scott saying trust the process, it works, then it works, Yeah. And that's it. Don't be emotionally caught up in these things. It's here to help you you're not going to live in it. You're not going to be the one that needs to pick all the colors. And you know what? I had my color meeting for my property, and gosh, was that one of the biggest arguments with my husband.
You know what, buddy? That's when you can grab all of your emotional capital and energy and pour it into the house you're going to live in, because you deserve it, and that's you're doing that there. So,
and everyone will get that chance soon. So
yeah, it's just been an interesting little observation of some wants and desires and needs of some clients at the moment about things that are just not congruent with the 400 other people that have all built houses with us. 99% of them don't give a fuck about whether there's a gas cooktop or electric cooktop, or whether there's gas bottles down the side, or what orientation the fucking alfresco is. It makes zero difference. But when you put 5 or 6 of very somewhat minor stipulations on what you want the property, we go to an area where we can go find this amount of properties. Now we're only looking for this amount of properties. It just makes it incredibly difficult. And don't get me wrong, whoever the clients that are going through this, like, if the hat fits, ladies and gents, make sure it's fucking nice and tight, because that's you that I'm talking about. Challenge accepted on our end. We'll find you what you want, but you're making it very difficult for everybody involved. And you're sitting there not benefiting from the market right now, because it's taking us a matter of weeks to find your property, not a bit sooner, sort of thing. Yeah. Who's just like, look, speaking of Steve and Jen, I wondered if they were going to be here.
I did message them today. I said, keep in mind, you're half an hour in front.
I was going to say, if you haven't had a chance to watch from the start, Caitlin and I passed on some wonderful feedback to Jen. 100% RT. We don't have any emotion in our 2 properties. We're saving that for our forever house. Like, it's good. Like, I know, ladies and gents, please don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here having a fucking whinge, because 99.9% of all of you are fucking superstars, and you've all done very, very well based on the education and training, because you're the experts. You tell us what needs to be done. Every now and then there's a couple of people that come in and go, I'll take 80% of what you're telling me, but then I'll make up the other 20% myself. And it always fucking turns out a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Caitlin, what else was I going to ask you about? What do you go?
I messaged Jen today, and Jen and Steve today, because they told me they missed the last 30 minutes of the last live, and I said, I'm going to remind you guys. And I messaged them with an update, and I was like, I thought they'd make it, but all good.
It's all good. Actually, KC, can you bring up Mikey's comment there? How do you deal with a client emotionally coming undone? Ryan, I'm going to bat this one across to you, mate. You've been on calls with myself and Luke now, and here's the thing. I get it more than what anyone can understand. You're spending $500,000-$700,000 on an item. You're going through the build process. Can take up to 12 months, sometimes longer if you're doing a terrace home where they've all got to be done at the same time. And we're flirting with your financial future, and/or where you're moving into a house yourself. I absolutely get all of those points. I so do. When I'm talking to my clients, I'm like, look, with all that in mind, I only want you to love these things here, though. The 4 things I want you to love. Of course, I want you to love the house. No dramas. I do want you to love the item that you're buying without falling in love with it. There's very, very slight difference, right? I want you to love the fact that you're doing something for your financial future. Your future self is going to love you for doing what you're doing. I want you to love the fact that you build a house now whereby you can call it your own, and/or provide another roof over head for another family who is desperate to live in your house. Like, how good a feeling is it, Caitlin, to have the same tenants for 3 years, and they're so grateful that you and James decided to go ahead and build that house, because they would have to live somewhere else otherwise.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if someone becomes emotionally undone or detached from what's going on, then Ryan, how would you handle that one? I'm interested in what you'd say here.
I think it's all about bringing them back. So in our initial coaching session, we sit down and work out our goals, our big picture thinking. So for me, it would be coming back to those goals. Why are we doing this in the first place? And where do we want to be in 10, 15 years? And are the decisions and emotions that we're feeling at the moment impacting us moving in a succinct manner to achieve those goals? And if we make these decisions on emotion, is it going to take us away from them or delay the goals that we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I love it. Casey, can you just leave the question up there, buddy, whilst we're all answering it, please, just so people that are following along at home can do so. Caitlin, what about you? You've I've seen this firsthand with you, and it's cute to see. I'll use that term loosely, but I say that because you have my full trust and confidence. There's a couple of clients that have been a bit shirty about, some of the delays that have been involved. And I know you don't look forward to having to do those calls, but your personality and your willingness to be friendly and pragmatic and no bullshit, you bounce out of there. You're like, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Just give me a bit of a sense on some of those calls. Like when you feel like a client is, maybe getting a little bit too emotional, becoming emotionally undone is a very strong term, but like when you just sense they're really not enjoying it, what are some of the not tips and tricks, but what are some of the measures you put in place to be able to just calm their farm?
Yeah. So I think first tip for me, like personally, when I'm going to go onto a call where I think that there may be an issue, is I talk to Ange. Like she is my little calming bear. She's my little, she's just awesome. She's amazing. And she really she brings us back down and goes, okay, what are we going to do here? Like, what is the solution? What is the plan? So she's number one. She helps see the bigger picture where, yes, I do feel emotional and get emotional in my clients' builds. That's me. I'm an emotional person. But the number one is, we had that call that I spoke to you about a few weeks ago with Ange. And I said, I just I thought the call was going to go bad. I never thought I'd be able to change it when I first went on the call. I was so scared. And I just listened to the client.
Yep.
He was emotional. He was emotional about his build, and I listened. That's it. I listened. I heard what he had to say. And then I said, listen, we're going to put some steps in place and we're going to get there. We're going to get there together, and I'm going to help you through this. And then by the end of the call, he was smiling, he was laughing, and I was being my weird self by going, let's go. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to get there. I'm going to send you weird videos. And that's what I've done. And I've said videos of me jumping around the office being like, yes, we've got this for your house. And he's just like, you are weird. You're next level.
We have got one or two clients that have certainly poured a lot of emotional capital into. One of them's their own home and one of them's an investment property. So they're very hands-on, and I've got no dramas with that. Ryan, you and I spoke to old mate yesterday, and his mum was sort of asking about, project management, project supervision. What does my son have to do to make this happen? All those sort of, mum questions. And I said, look, all of our clients can be as involved or not involved as they choose. If you're someone who's like, I know someone's got my back, I'm employing someone and paying someone to do a role for me, I'll look forward to their weekly or fortnightly updates. I'm like, then that's all good. That's a very hands-off approach. Or I said to him, so you can give the build support girls a call every day and see what the update is. I said, you'll probably be sick of that after the first couple of weeks, because you're like, there's no update, bro. There's no update, bro. When something happens, I'll call you. No, it still hasn't come in yet. And you'll be like, all right, sweet. We're literally on a hair trigger, Caitlin, all of you, to make sure that as soon as something comes in, you digest it, you assess it, you check it to make sure it's accurate, work out who else needs to know about it, and then you inform those parties. So one thing I love about you and the other girls, mate, is you're not just a post box.
No.
Franny especially has been really amazing at this, hasn't she?
Yeah,
she's like, nope, that's not right. I'll send that back to the builder. They need to fix that up. So it's you really provide that filtering for the clients. So I guess it's one of those things that, empathy and being solutions focused well said, like it is. But at the end of the day, Mikey, it's one of those things. Especially at the coaching series, it makes zero difference to us whether someone chooses to use our services or not. It really doesn't. I can coach them, I can mentor them, I can put a plan together for them. But at the end of the day, if people want to go and do it by themselves, I can't stop that. Mm-hmm. But one of the really powerful things we do during the coaching series is we do what's called a property obstacles activity. Like, what are those things that are still standing in your way? And we go through, and the clients are able to put forward to us in their words what assistance they need. And it's almost like electing to put your cards on the table of all those things you don't know about. And one of the first things I do there when someone becomes emotionally undone, they're like, look, I can't go through with this anymore, or I want to do it by myself sort of thing. I just sort of bring it up. I'm like, well, these are the things you told me about that you have no idea how to do. What's changed so quickly that you think you're now just going to be able to take care of those by yourself? That's the answer I get normally. But I'm like,
I just become build support. That's
all
good.
It doesn't matter. I know you've already made your decision. You're going to go and do this by yourself. I absolutely think you're the best, sort of thing. So yeah, it's Mikey. It's a really great question, mate. There's we don't come here and put on a facade about the world of building houses is full of rose colors everywhere. Certainly, we make it a lot easier on our clients of them trying to do it by themselves. Because if we've built 400 houses and got another 100 in the build at any one time, and we're struggling with some of the things sometimes just due to a market event or an external agency or something, how the fuck is any young punter who's never built one house going to be able to navigate his way through it? Ryan, you're a town planner, mate, and you still humbly put your hand in the air and went, I could probably, babe, you and Amana, we could probably do this, but how could you have done it if you didn't get some support?
No, it wouldn't have happened. And part of our story is we actually tried. We tried to do that before Axon. We went out to the home worlds and tried to get blocks of land and couldn't even get through that door, let alone the next bunch of gates of actually building the thing. So yeah, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I like it when clients come to us and they're like, I've been trying for ages to try and get a block of land. I'm like, right, this is my little analogy. I like my sayings, Caitlin, and I've got my little analogies. I'm like, right. Remember when we all used to go to nightclubs and be standing out the front, there'd be a band or a DJ playing that you want to be able to go and see, and you're fucking standing out the nightclub at 1 o'clock in the morning and the line's like 100 meters long, and someone or a couple would walk past you, go and talk to the bouncer up the front, fuck knows what they'd say, and the bouncer would look at them, look at us, he'd drop the velvet rope and they walk straight in. And I'm like, motherfuckers, I've got another half an hour of standing here. Who are you? Why is it that you're getting preferential treatment and we don't? Mm-hmm. That's the analogy I use here, is that because we've got access to the very best builders who have got access to the very best developers, we get access to blocks that are not sitting on realestate.com. So people come to Axon and they get the velvet rope dropped on them. So Mikey's like, I miss those days. Brother, we need to go and revisit those days, let me tell you.
No.
No, and I mean, Caitlin, you have the opportunity of doing the end of build coachings right now. I mean, when people, even if they haven't had a really, really smooth experience, just give everyone an indication as we've got a couple of minutes to go. Yeah. When the house is built and they've got a tenant moved in or they've moved in themselves, what's the emotions like then?
Oh, emotions are so high, regardless of what type of build they've had, whether it has been, smooth and stress-free or really stressful and full of delays. The end result is still the same. They are so happy they've got this investment property or they've got this owner-occupied house. And, even going through a build, just like you've said, you have the property obstacle that you put in place. What don't you know? The same thing about the hot wash at the end. They go through their build, they go through their coaching, their property specialist lane, the build support lane, they build the house. And then we get to that hot wash and we say, well, you know a lot now. What are some things that you can help us with? What do we not know? Because we are still putting those obstacles in place going, how can we better the build support experience? How can we better the property specialist experience, the coach experience? What is it something that we can also do? So if, we're asking for the help and we're giving you the help as well when it comes to it. And, I feel like that's number one for me. Like James and I signed our contracts for our house and chose our colors for our house well before I became a part of Axon. And I used to just sign it. It'd be like, sign the contract, sign here. And I was just sign on the DocuSign. That's it. That was me done. And then I became a part of build support and I learnt those processes. And I was like, hold on a second, get that contract out.
Yeah.
Get it all out.
Yeah. It's really good. It's funny, just when you're immersed in it and you've literally got 100 or so builds going on at any one time with the three of you that have got your hands on the build support thing, there's, and you're seeing it as well, Ryan, there's nothing like immersion, is there? You get to learn very quickly. Yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. Yep.
You bloody legends. Thank you so much for joining me. How'd you, Ryan? Congrats on finishing your first Q&A.
Made it. We did it. How good?
There a couple of times, mate. But welcome to my world. And Caitlin, thank you, Tony Evans. 360-degree feedback, incredibly powerful. It really is, mate. We use it here in the business from a leadership perspective. We absolutely do. Paddy Barr, you bloody legend. Just finished my first property with Axon. The process works. I'm waiting for Axon to say the numbers are on point for the next build, mate. I know the team are already working on that for you, mate. We absolutely are. Caitlin, I love your energy. I love your experience. I love the way you hold yourself. You're an absolute superstar. Thank you for joining us here on the live Q&A, and I can't wait to. You're out on the road tomorrow, aren't you, buddy?
No. Unfortunately, no. My client was sick. Has gone sick.
There you go. Righto. We're now 3 seconds overdue. We're going to go. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for all the things down here. Thanks, Gunny. Thanks, Angie. Thanks, Mikey. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Tony. See you all next time. We're back on another fortnight. See you then.
Oh.